In Islam, some sins are so severe that they endanger your salvation and can lead to hellfire. The Quran mentions 16 major sins, and in our last session, we discussed the first 4. Today, we are diving into 4 more. Understanding these major sins is essential for living a life of faith and righteousness. This knowledge may save you and your family. Let's begin. Session 586, Chapter 4, Verse 31. A continuation. If you avoid the major sins you have been forbidden, we shall absolve you of your minor misdeeds and let you in through the entrance of honor. Chapter 4, Verse 31. Next on our list of major sins is the issue of murder, which is different than death. How, you may ask? We answer that killing involves dismantling the structure of a living being, unlike death, where a person passes away with their body unharmed. Listen to the following ayah. Muhammad is but a messenger before whom many messengers have been and gone. If he died or was killed, would you revert to your old ways? If anyone did so, he would not harm God in the least. God will reward the grateful. Chapter 3, Verse 144. If someone suffers a fatal blow to the head, for example, whether by a stone or a bullet, the body is no longer fit to host the soul, so the soul departs and the person is killed. Death, on the other hand, is the extraction of life without dismantling the body, a process only God can perform. Both humans and many animals can kill, leading to the soul's departure with God's permission. But do not think the murderer sped up the victim's appointed death or shortened their life. They merely disrupted a structure that God created. Had the murderer not intervened, the victim would have died naturally at their destined time. Thus, the murderer is punished for interfering with the body's integrity, knowing full well that the soul only resides in a body with specific biological conditions, like a functioning brain and heart. Let me explain this idea more clearly. Consider the soul in the same way you view electricity. You do not see, smell, or taste electricity, but its effects are evident. When the light is on, we understand that the electricity must be flowing through the light bulb. If you break the glass, the bulb goes dark. But is the electricity gone? No, the electricity is still there, but it only shines as light under certain physical conditions, such as the vacuum inside a bulb. Likewise, the soul manifests as life only in a structure that has unique characteristics. We do not see, hear, smell, or taste the soul, but its effects are apparent. It sustains life. If a person's movement suddenly stops, we suspect death and check for vital signs. God says, "So when I have proportioned him and breathed into him of my soul, then fall down in prostration before him." Chapter 38, Verse 72. Some atheists claim they would only believe in God if they could see him. But we ask, how can you expect to see God directly when even your soul, his creation within you, is unseen? Allah's greatness surpasses full perception. He invites you to contemplate his signs in the universe, but why not begin by observing yourself? Where is the soul that drives your body? What is its shape, color, or scent? You don't know, yet it exists within you, unseen. How can you demand to see Allah, the Creator, when you can't even perceive your own soul? God says, "And within yourselves, too, do you not see?" Chapter 51, Verse 21. God points to your soul, an unseen force that fuels your vitality, as an internal proof of his existence. This brings us back to the major sin of murder. Unjustly killing another human is a sign of weakness. Why? Because by killing, the murderer admits he or she couldn't cope with their adversary's existence. They can find no peace until the opponent is dead. Hence, when one kills, they're essentially confessing their inadequacy. If murderers understood that taking a life is not proof of strength, but a display of weakness, they might reconsider. Allah protects human life against murder to ensure everyone lives without fear, thus enabling human civilization to continue as God intended. Let's move on to the next item on our list of major sins, which is accusing chaste women of dishonor. Beyond preserving life, a key element for a healthy society is maintaining the dignity of honorable women, as it ensures pure lineage and protects future generations from the stigma and shame that can be associated with such accusations. When suspicion is absent, individuals face life with full confidence and potential. Those who wish to spread immorality accuse noble, innocent women without evidence, thus causing turmoil in families. They cast doubt about the lineage of individuals, harming the man, wife, and, most importantly, innocent children. What fault do they have in this? God says, "No one who carries a burden bears another's load, and even if the burdened cry out for help, none will carry the least of its burden." From chapter 35, verse 18. Another major sin that destroys society is adultery. God says, "And do not go anywhere near adultery. It is an abominable act and an evil path." Chapter 17, verse 32. Adultery reduces the relationship between a man and woman to mere physical enjoyment, whereas God intended for this bond to provide mutual comfort and care, not just pleasure. Sexual enjoyment is a means to preserve the species, motivating us to reproduce and care for our offspring. Why? Because having children is a significant burden, as their dependency and need for nurturing extend over many years. Without emotional bonding and sexual pleasure, many people might shy away from having children. Now we move from social sins to the gravest economic sin: consuming usury, riba. While polytheism ruins the mind, murder ruins life, disrespecting parents ruins families, and adultery and false accusations ruin society, interest-based monetary systems destabilize the economy and force those with less to further enrich those who are already wealthy. With usury, money is no longer a medium of exchange. Instead, it becomes the ultimate goal of life. Money is transferred from the poor to the rich, not in exchange for goods, services, or talent, but in exchange for more debt and poverty. This leads to corruption and widespread social unrest. God says, "Those who devour interest will not rise, but like a person possessed by the devil and demented." That is because they say, "Trade is the same as usury." But Allah has permitted trade, and He has forbidden usury. From chapter 2, verse 275. Take a moment to consider this inherently reprehensible transaction. The person who is poor, in need, and can barely feed their family is seeking help. Yet they are the one burdened with guaranteeing the enrichment of the lender, who is, by definition, not in need. This injustice fosters resentment and hatred in society, weakening the spirit of charity and cooperation. Let's look at another practical example from everyday life. Two adjacent stores in a market. The owner of the first has $1,000. He buys good quality merchandise to sell in the store. He will need to earn enough money to make a living and keep the store running. The owner of the second store is poor. He does not have any capital to work with, so he borrows $1,000 to buy merchandise. The loan contract stipulates that he must return the original $1,000 plus $100 in interest after 6 months. This man also needs to earn enough money to make a living and sustain the business. So where would the $100 of interest come from? If the second merchant tries to sell his goods at a higher price, no one will buy from him. If he sells the goods at a fair price, he would barely make a living and may not be able to pay back the loan. Most likely, to feed his family, run the business, and pay back the interest on the loan, the second merchant would have to obtain lower quality goods, sell them at a price similar to the better ones, and deceive the customer into buying such goods. Thus, society as a whole would suffer. You and I have to pay the price for the usurious loan. If you value the Islamic knowledge you gain here, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and share Quran Garden with your family and friends. Join us for the next session as we continue down the list of major sins.
إن تجتنبوا كبائر ما تنهون عنه نكفر عنكم سيئاتكم وندخلكم مدخلا كريما.
The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Convey my teachings to the people, even if it is only a single verse." Please take a moment to subscribe and to share with your family and friends. Visit us at www.qurangarden.com.